I'm one of the rebel councillors. 9 of us initially led the way. Well, thank you for that applause, but we didn't leave the Labour group to leave the Labour Party. We left the Labour group asking the Labour Party to address the unfairness and discrimination which we were finding in Harrow. Their response was just to brief against us in the press and then publicly expel us from the party and tell everybody that we'll never be members again for 5 years. Well, my response to that is, if that's the kind of Labour value you exhibit, I don't want to be part of it. And as a result of that, we decided to form a party. We went for the name Independent Labour Party, first of all, and because we said that's the route of the Labour Party, but the Electoral Commission said no. Then we went for Independent Labour Group, and that was approved and arose. They didn't think that was important until we had a by-election. And then they started writing to us and threatening, you can't use that, you can't use that. We said, well, it's registered, and we continue to use it. And one of the things we're trying to do is to make sure that, because again, Labour's attitude is, if you stand against that at your peril. And when Southampton was talking about why Labour councillors don't stand up, there's actually a culture of coercion. People aren't allowed to speak their minds. If you speak your mind, you are threatened. And it takes, I think, a little more backbone that people are exhibiting these days to actually say, actually, that's not what we believe in. If you are left-wing, you're socialist, you need to stand up for those values. And there is a culture in the town hall that is that austerity is the only way forward, cuts, cuts, cuts. And it's actually difficult for councillors. You have to sort of argue with the officer corps and say, actually, what's an alternative to cuts? Why not this and why not that? In Harrow, for instance, we have hardly any reserves. So unlike Tower Hamlets, we can't say, look, we'll use the reserves or other councils to do anything. So it is a tough call. Having said that, I do really believe that there's an alternative to austerity, there's an alternative to cuts, and the excuse that it's and I do like what Merseyside has put as an amendment, because it is true that it is not the budget deficit that leads to all this. The deficit was big after the war. We still brought in the NHS, we still brought in council housing. So it is a big, but it is still a big challenge ahead of us because the whole media, everybody has bought into there's nothing we can do. And there's a pessimism, which is what I like what the earlier speaker said. There's a pessimism in the air that we need to conquer. We need to get people to the idea that there is more to life than this austerity. And to be honest, they would say that, wouldn't they? But we need to also remember that the NHS came in on 1 vote. And therefore, we don't actually have people there who actually believe in it. They may be saying that now, but they don't really believe in it. And therefore, we need to actually fight the battles that we believe in all the time in every generation. I found this quote by Coretta Scott King, which I think captures it, that struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. And I think for the left-wing movement, our problem is that I think we became complacent. We thought the NHS was here to stay, council housing wouldn't. You know, in a sense, I think looking back, and hindsight is always 20/20, we sort of let it go and we allowed this, I think, unfair ethos to come into the public perception. And I think that's what we have now. This whole attack on people, on benefits, on immigrants, this relentless drivel that we hear. But I think one of our problems also, and I speak as a member of Unite, I think the reason why some of us felt that we should claim back our party is actually we founded the party. But I think with my recent experience, I realized that sometimes you have to walk away. You have to walk away because the forces inside are too great. But I do respect those because I still have lots of friends in the Labour Party who are still there fighting their corner. So I think you need to fight your battle wherever you are placed. And I'll end by saying that one of our big problems is apathy. Apathy with our electorate, because they've sort of given up that there is anything they can do. And I remember with us, we had a draft manifesto, which we had a community meeting to ask people what they thought. And one of the things we shared with them is that, interestingly, de Gaulle said that politics is too important to be left to politicians. And I think we need to get people back to that. That politics is something that all of us do. It's not just those people there, it's not just the people in the town hall. It's all of us together. We need to make the decisions that matter to us. And if people are telling us that it's cuts they want, when we don't want cuts, then we need to make sure they're not elected. But as Southampton actually said, you are often told that if you vote for any small party, if you vote for the rebels, then you're letting in the Tories. We have to prove that to be wrong. Too many people, our turnout at the local elections is 30%. We need to get that 70% back into the voting booth. And that way, we could demonstrate that we can take back seats, we can actually show that left wing has a future. Because I think it's high time we show people that there's an alternative to this way of chasing money and not caring about people. Thank you very much.